All right, so welcome to another deep dive. You know how this works. You send us those cases that just keep you up at night, and we jump right in.
Head first.
Head first, exactly.
Yeah.
And today, we're diving into a mystery that's haunted location for, well, quite a while now, a number of years to be exact.
Yeah, the vanishing of victim's name. It's one of those cases that just gets under your skin.
It really is. So for those who might not be familiar, let's set the stage a bit. It was date, victim's name, who was, let me see here, a cautious 8-year-old aspiring teacher, clocked out after a late shift at the diner, and then, well, poof, gone.
Just like that?
Yeah, just gone. The only thing left behind, a single shoe found on the sidewalk. In the rain, too.
Spooky. Almost like a bad omen or something.
Right. And you know that one detail, the shoe, it really highlights what makes disappearances so difficult to solve.
Totally. I mean, you don't have a body, you don't have a clear crime scene. You're basically starting from scratch. It's less about figuring out what happened and more about where do you even begin to look.
Exactly. Yeah. But we do have some pieces of the puzzle, right? Like there's that surveillance footage showing a blurry figure near victim's name's car around time that night.
Right, but the footage is so grainy, it's basically useless for identification.
Right.
Yeah.
And then come morning, victim's name is still missing. Their car turns up abandoned near their apartment, which makes things even weirder.
For sure, because it kind of narrows down the time frame, right? Whatever happened, it seems like it happened between the diner and their apartment.
Makes sense. And inside the apartment, things get even more strange. Investigators find a cryptic note hidden under the mattress.
A note. What did it say?
That's the thing. No one's been able to figure it out. It's like
Right.
some kind of code or something.
Yeah.
And to make things even more frustrating, investigators interviewed, what was it, like number suspect.
Number suspects, and every single lead just fizzled out.
You know, we can't talk about this case without addressing the elephant in the room. A lot of folks in location are convinced there was some kind of cover-up.
Oh yeah, I've heard that too. Especially since the sheriff's department just up and closed the case in year.
Yeah, just like that. Why would they do that if they hadn't found something? Makes you wonder, right?
It definitely does. I mean, when answers are scarce, it's easy to jump to conclusions. But we have to be careful, right? There's a difference between public perception and, actual evidence.
Right, of course. We're all about the facts here. But with that said, let's dive into the main theories surrounding victims' names' disappearance.
Okay, let's do it.
Theory number 1, the lover's betrayal. Witnesses say there was a huge fight, like a screaming match, between victim's name and their supposed significant other at a bar the night before they vanished. Sounds like a motive, right?
On the surface, yeah, absolutely. Early in any investigation, you're always looking for strong emotions, possible motives, and a big fight definitely raises a red flag.
Yeah, but there's a catch, right?
Oh, a big one. This alleged lover, they had an alibi, an airtight one, confirmed multiple times. It just goes to show how important it is to be thorough. The public might love a dramatic love triangle story, but good police work needs more than just gossip.
Good point. So that brings us to theory number 2, the stranger in the shadows. And this one, it gets pretty creepy because it links victims' names' disappearance to those unsolved murders that happened along Highway 22.
Yeah, those were unsettling, but what makes people think these cases are connected?
Well, it's not just that both involve people vanishing, it's the specifics. Multiple victims along Highway 22 were last seen at night. Cars abandoned. Minimal evidence left behind. Sound familiar?
Starting to see the similarities.
And get this, a retired detective who worked the Highway 22 cases even said that victims' names case felt too calculated to be random, like it mirrored the MO of those highway crimes. Chillin' stuff.
Yeah, that quote alone sends shivers down my spine.
Mine too. So are we saying there's a serial killer on the loose?
Well, it's tempting to jump to that conclusion, especially with all these similarities. But we can't let fear dictate our thinking, right? We need more than just a feeling to definitively link these cases.
Right. It could be a coincidence, a copycat, or a genuine connection. Tough to say, for sure. Okay, theory number 3. And this is where things get, well, a little more complicated. The family secret theory.
Ooh, juicy. Everyone loves a good family secret.
I know, right? So the rumors range from hidden inheritances to long-held grudges, all that good stuff.
The stuff of small-town legends.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But how much truth is there to these whispers?
Well, that's the thing about rumors. They often have a life of their own.
So are we saying this theory is completely bogus?
Not necessarily. Like I said before, just because we haven't found evidence doesn't mean there isn't any. What we do know is that investigators looked into the family's finances, any potential motives within the family, and came up empty.
So for now, it's more speculation than fact.
Right. It's not impossible, but it needs more substance than just whispers to become a serious line of inquiry.
Make sense? All right, so we've got a love affair that's probably a dead end, a possible link to a string of much larger crimes, and a family drama that might be nothing but smoke and mirrors. This is already a lot to unpack.
It is, and we haven't even touched on one of the biggest mysteries in this whole case.
Oh yeah, I know what you're going to say, the missing phone.
The missing phone. In this day and age, our digital footprints are everywhere. It's almost impossible to erase them completely. Yet, victim's name's phone, gone. Vanished without a trace.
It's like a clue in itself,
Yeah.
but one we can't decipher. What happened to it? Was it destroyed? Hidden? Did it go missing before everything else? So many questions.
And then so few answers. It's a real head-scratcher.
No kidding.
It really is. It's like investigators are working with a puzzle, but half the pieces are missing. And the pieces they do have, well, they might not even belong to the same puzzle.
Right. And then you factor in how much time has passed. Memories get fuzzy, evidence gets lost or damaged. It's almost like time itself is working against them.
Exactly. Speaking of pieces that don't fit, let's talk about that witness who retracted their statement. What was their name again?
Witness name. They gave a statement initially, then completely recanted, just days before the trial.
Witness reliability, that's always a tricky thing. It's not always about lying, though that definitely happens sometimes.
Right.
Memory can be unreliable, people can feel pressure from all sides, or sometimes it's just plain confusion.
So what do you make of witness name changing their story? It's got to mean something, right? They went from cooperating to clamming up right when it mattered most. You think maybe they were threatened?
Possibly. Threats are unfortunately pretty common in these kinds of cases, especially if the witness knows something that could incriminate someone.
Or what if, like, guilt got to them? Maybe they saw something but didn't realize how important it was at first, and then later, bam, it hits them.
Yeah, I could see that happening. Imagine the weight of knowing you might have a piece of information that could solve a case, but you didn't come forward right away. Recanting might feel like the only option, even if it ends up hurting the investigation.
It's tough because we're talking about real people here, with real emotions, real fears. It's not just about clues and evidence, it's about human nature. And speaking of human nature, there's that detail that's always bugged me, the half-empty coffee cup in victim's name's kitchen. Why is that so significant?
Well, on its own, maybe not so much. But in the context of a disappearance, even the smallest detail can become a clue. It's like a little story within a larger story. Think about it. Victim's name was home long enough to make coffee, but not to finish it.
Yeah, what's up with that? Were they interrupted?
Exactly. Maybe someone else was there, a visitor, and they had to leave suddenly. Or maybe it was something else entirely. We don't know. But that one little detail adds another layer to the mystery.
It makes you wonder how many other coffee cups are hidden in the case files, things that were dismissed as insignificant at the time. What if we've been so focused on the big picture that we've missed the tiny details that could hold the key to the whole thing? Like we're looking for a huge, obvious clue, but the answer is right there in front of us. We just haven't noticed it.
It's like that saying, can't see the forest for the trees. Sometimes we get so caught up in our own theories, we overlook the evidence that doesn't fit.
Totally. Okay, so with all this in mind, let's go back to the sheriff's department, closing the case. We've got these strange details. The whole town's buzzing with rumors, potential leads. Why would they just shut it all down?
Well, there are a few possible reasons, but none of them are going to satisfy folks who want answers. Sometimes it comes down to resources. Small towns often have limited manpower and budgets for investigations, especially if the leads have dried up.
So you're saying they might have just run out of time and money?
It's possible. And then there's public pressure. Sometimes that can actually backfire. If there's enough pressure to solve a case quickly, it can lead to a rushed investigation and maybe even a premature closing of the case.
And then, of course, there's always the possibility of corruption.
Right. That's a serious accusation, though, and it requires solid evidence, not just suspicion. But let's be real, it does happen.
Yeah, it's hard not to feel like the system failed victim's name and their family. No answers, no justice, just a big question mark.
It's definitely a tragedy. These unsolved cases, they leave these open wounds on a community. They're constant reminders that sometimes answers just stay out of reach and justice feels incomplete. But here's the thing, closed doesn't always mean solved.
So you're saying there's still hope?
There's always hope. Maybe someone out there, somewhere, has that one missing piece of the puzzle. Maybe they don't even realize it.
They just need a little nudge, a little reminder.
Exactly, and that's where you come in, listeners. Yes, What stood out to you in this case? What details did W.E. miss? Sometimes it's the collective thinking, the shared curiosity that pushes a case forward. Maybe someone listening right now will remember something, some detail that'll change everything. You never know.
As we've been talking about all this, I keep thinking about the people who live in location. What's it like, going about your life with this unsolved mystery hanging over the town all these years?
Yeah, it's interesting, right? We often don't think about the impact a case like this can have on an entire community. It's not just about the missing person, it's about, the fear, the uncertainty.
The rumors, too. Must make it hard to trust people.
Absolutely. And in a small town where everyone knows each other, that lack of trust can really eat away at the fabric of the community.
It's like this wound that never heals, right? Always a little raw. So is there any way for a community to move forward after something like this, even if they never get a definitive answer?
Well, it's tough, no doubt about it. But it starts with acceptance. Accepting that some answers might never come.
Yeah, that's got to be hard.
It is, but it's also freeing in a way. It allows you to shift the focus. Instead of obsessing over the who and the why, you can start to remember the person who's gone. Celebrate their life.
So you're saying instead of dwelling on the empty space they left behind, you try to fill it with good memories, the good things they brought to the world.
Exactly. And there's also a lot to be said for, channeling that grief into something positive, supporting organizations that help families of the missing, pushing for more resources for cold cases, just raising awareness so that these cases don't get forgotten.
Yeah, keeping the conversation alive so that even if we can't solve every mystery, at least the search for answers continues.
Right. And that the people left behind, the families, the friends, they know they're not alone.
Okay, so as we wrap up our deep dive into the disappearance of victim's name, I think it's important to acknowledge how complicated this case really is. We've got all these unanswered questions, these strange details, and it's clear this has had a huge impact on everyone in location.
Yeah. But even though we might not have all the answers, I think it's important to remember that the search for truth is always worth it. Every detail matters, every voice deserves to be heard, and we should never give up on pursuing justice, no matter how long it takes.
Man, this case has really been a journey. We've explored all these theories, looked at the evidence, and we've come face to face with the fact that sometimes mysteries just stay unsolved. But even with all the uncertainty, it's the questions we ask, the conversations we have, that keep that hope alive, the hope for answers.
And who knows, maybe by talking about this case, going over the details, it'll spark something in someone's memory. Maybe some small detail they didn't think was important before will suddenly make sense.
Maybe someone listening right now holds the key to solving this whole thing.
Yeah.
That's the power of these deep dives.
It is. It's about keeping these cases in the public eye, generating new leads, and maybe even inspiring some armchair detectives out there.
So to all our listeners, if you've been following along with this case, keep those theories coming, keep those eyes peeled, because you never know. You might be the one to crack the code.
Exactly. That's the beauty of true crime, right? It keeps us all on our toes, makes us think critically, and reminds us that sometimes the truth is stranger than fiction.
Well said. And that about wraps up our deep dive for today. Thanks for joining us, and until next time, stay curious, stay engaged, and remember, every detail counts.